easiest way to tell you is almost nothing classifies as a 1099. Most of the time when you truly look at what we call like the 3 C's of contractor classification, which is going to be control, cash, and connections. Hey, what's up? How's it going? It's Joey from Rehab CEOs. So we're doing another round of answering PT clinic owners' questions. So this is our kind of new daily segment where we have a group in Skool where you can go to skool.com, so skool.com/Rehab CEOs, and you can join. And so we just realized that the feedback loop on everybody getting their questions answered was just way too long. But also it's hard to kind of personalize these things, make sure we're actually going in depth enough and actually cover all that even through written. And I didn't want to have to do fully edited videos and stuff like that. So we always answer those questions first in the Skool group. But of course, if you have questions as well, you can go ahead and comment below and ask your question. Or if you still need the link, you can just drop Skool down below and we'll send you a DM so that way we can get you over there. So the question that I was asked on this last one, let me pull it up so I don't butcher it. This is by Pete. It says, what are the key advantages and drawbacks and common misconceptions when deciding whether to classify workers as W-2 or 1099 independent contractors? So a couple different things. I mean, the easiest way to tell you is almost nothing classifies as a 1099. But if you're like, hey, give me a little bit more than that, Joey. The reason I say that is most of the time when you truly look at what we call like the 3 C's of contractor classification, which is going to be control, cash, and connections, it starts to tell you a little bit more like why almost no world where that's almost ever going to be the case. The only time I see this start to maybe kind of be the case is if you have someone who's like doing mobile and stuff like that. But really you just have to kind of ask, it's like, who decides what they do, when they do it, how they do it? Like that's the control aspect of the 3 C's. And if you're telling them how to do something specifically, when they do it, how their schedule is, when they can come in, any of that type stuff, they're not going to be classified as a 1099. They are now a W-2. So cash, it's okay. Well, now effectively who's covering expenses and tools and risk and everything like that? Again, most of the time that's going to end up being the employer anytime we're kind of looking at these type things. Even like if we're looking at some of these other kind of third parties, I'm not going to name specific names, but even in the mobile world, they are providing EMRs or providing software. They're providing something that's now making it to where we're really kind of getting into even more gray area on there. And so then connections, it's like, okay, are there like any benefits or contracts or long-term kind of actual ties for this actual relationship? And so if there's getting into health insurance, if we're getting any of that type stuff, realistically, there's a connection to the business, which then again, we are now not a 1099. So the easiest way to kind of look at this, if you're looking at other industries, it's like salon industry, super common, 1099, you rent out a booth, they can't control anything, they don't control your price, they don't tell you how to do anything, you're literally pretty much subleasing from them and kind of just at least getting some of the inherent benefit of knowing, hey, there's 20 other people doing hair. If you're a PT clinic owner, there's typically only 3 things that are potentially going wrong in your business. It seems like maybe 5,000 things are actually going wrong, but it really kind of distills down to 3. So you either need more new patients, you need more profit, or you need more PTs inside your clinic. Sometimes you have more than one of those, but it's only those 3. And so what we really have looked at over the years with working with over hundreds of clinics, having multiple people go from startup to out of treatment or to 1 clinic to multi, all the way to our biggest having 11 clinics, we know exactly what works and what doesn't. And so what we do is marketing, coaching, and hiring for physical therapy clinics. And so what we used to do was, hey, we have this money back guarantee, work with us. If you're not happy, no harm, no foul. We realized though, realistically, no one was really asking for their money back. So we said, well, if our goal is to help as many people as possible, why are we putting friction in the process? So we said, okay, let's flip this on its head instead, because realistically, a lot of the reasons that people need to start with us is because they don't have money. So we said, let's do a 28-day free trial instead. Instead of you worrying, will this work? It's like, well, let's just try it out. If it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. You didn't actually risk any money. If you're tired of seeing my bald head by the time we're done, no worries, it doesn't matter. But you'll be able to at least go on a date before we get married, know if it works for you. So if that sounds interesting, you want to learn more how we can specifically work with you, just click the link in the description and sign up to talk to one of our growth specialists. I very rarely, I don't think I've ever actually seen someone truly do a 1099 the right way in PT. Usually it's because we're effectively just trying to save a little bit of money in taxes, unfortunately. And it's like 7.65% for FICA taxes that we're trying to avoid. But I've also seen the other end of the spectrum where someone's trying to avoid those taxes. I know someone in California specifically who actually, by almost all terms, was following as close to what I've ever seen with their massage therapist, that it was like probably the closest I've seen. And like, I would be like, okay, I think you may actually be legit. Like, outside of a key to get into the building, that's pretty much all they did. And they were still going through legal to have to work through all this because they were getting hit with fines and stuff like that. So of course, different states have different laws around some of this sort of stuff. So of course, I'm not a lawyer. Look at all your stuff to make sure you're compliant with your labor laws. It's different state to state. Of course, you're more like California, New York, a little bit more kind of liberal states are typically going to be a lot more employer centric versus business specific. And so those are ones that are probably going to end up kind of favoring on there because they're seeing that really business owners are kind of just taking advantage of this, not realizing or kind of educating the employee that effectively we're kind of just doing this. So then all the tax burden is going to fall on you. And so that's kind of what I see. Again, I know a lot of people kind of skirt this and try to avoid it. Eventually, it's going to come back and bite you. So as far as kind of the original question, I want to make sure that I answered everything there. It's like key advantages. I mean, you are saving money. Usually it's like we're mitigating risk. Kind of the same thing when someone's saying like, should I hire full-time or part-time, or should I pay per visit? I am very much a fan of like, we need to go full-time. We need to go W-2. We need to have a profit sharing model. Like, we need to have like real benefits. And if you're like, I can't afford those, then we don't have a hiring issue. We have a profitability and business issue. So we need to fix that first. But I'm a big fan of that because you're going to have more bought-in employees. You're going to have people that actually you can train the way you know they need to be. You can actually really just facilitate the process to have a better culture. Everything just ends up being better. And so a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to go 1099 or I'll hire someone PRN. I'm going to hire someone part-time. And in reality, it's because they don't actually feel like they have the consistency to get someone full. So they see it as risk. So instead of the owner taking on the risk, they say, hey, I'm just going to push all this risk over to someone else. And then they wonder why they can't hire someone because, again, if these people wanted risk, they probably have a business. And so the only way you're going to be able to do that is start to take on the risk for them, because unfortunately, doesn't matter whether they only see a couple visits, their bills still keep coming, just like yours do. So they have student loans they have to worry about. And so there's times where I see people, they end up getting into these like really bad situations where they're hitting like, I talked to someone today, actually, they were paying $200 for an eval. They were paying $100, I think 15 for a routine treat. There's no world where that math is going to math long-term in that business. And so they are doing that because they're trying to make up, and because they don't have full-time salary, they don't have benefits, all those things. So they're trying to grossly overcompensate to try to be competitive with hospital systems, with other people, stuff like that. And it's fine when you're first starting because you have almost no overhead. But as you scale and you get to multiple clinics, we start to have all the actual operational inefficiencies that just happen because we have people involved with our businesses. Those margins start to shrink, and then we end up starting to get into issues. And so 1099, again, most people think, oh, it's 1099. I'm going to pay them $20 more because I'm saving so much on FICA taxes and benefits. Like, when you actually run the math, it's like maybe $4 to $5 an hour difference on what it would actually mean from a profitability standpoint, from like a 1099 to what you should be paying for hourly or salary. So most people overestimate what that is, and then they wonder why they don't have money. That's why, like, I'm not a big fan of the mobile model, because most people so overly compensate because they're trying to compensate or be competitive against like Lunas of the world who pay $75 a visit, not realizing the reason that Luna's making their money that they are is because they're financially backed and they're a tech company. Then they happen to do physical therapy, not realizing that it doesn't really look that good when you actually look under the hood of kind of how their stuff is structured. And so you can't be competitive with that. And if you do that, then you're just always going to have that full, like, I need to hire another PT so I can be profitable. When in reality, like, our math just isn't mathing. It's the same thing when we have someone who's like trying to do 60-minute one-on-one, but they have like a $90 revenue per visit. Like, it just can't work. And so that's when you're constantly just like, I need to hire another, it'll finally be there. And then like, for some reason, the bank account doesn't move. Like, we see it all the time. Like, if we're doing 40-minute scheduling, you need to be around like 95. If we're below that, you got to do 30-minute scheduling. If you're like, I don't want to do 30-minute scheduling, it's like, cool. It's time to get better at marketing and sales so we can drop some insurances, or we need to have some cash services. Not a big fan of being dependent on cash services on top of insurance, because I'd rather just have a good business model where that's a cherry on top. But those are the things we look at when we're kind of looking at the W-2 versus the 1099. So disadvantages, I mean, you can literally get fined out the wazoo for this thing. And realistically, you're just not getting bought in kind of actual employees for the most part. Yes, there's unicorns. But again, I don't like building business on unicorns. Like I like to grow unicorns if we can, but like to hope and wait and wish that like I can find this one person who gets none of the benefits of actually putting in all the hard work and they're going to care about our business, even though we don't care enough to actually hire them on full time. And I'm not saying this specifically. I know I'm answering Pete's question here. I'm not saying if you pay 1099, you don't care about your people, but you are saying you don't really want to invest in them. And so you have to ask yourself why that is. And that's usually the actual issue is like, how do we fix the system to where we have predictable profitability, predictable ability to fill that person up? And that'll get you much further. So again, if you'll have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And if you're not in our Skool group, which we prioritize those questions first, just comment Skool down below and I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right. Bye guys.